A question for you. Do you fear money? The difference between the rich and the poor isn't intelligence, luck, or even opportunity. It's simply this: the poor work for money, while the rich make money work for them. Most people spend their entire lives trading time for dollars, never realizing they're playing a game they can never win. Let me tell you something that might sting a little, but it's the truth you need to hear. I'm Franklin, and over the past 15 years running my financial consulting firm and managing hundreds of employees across 8 different businesses, I've seen the same pattern repeat itself thousands of times. People come to me asking, "Franklin, what's the secret? How do I get rich?" And when I tell them, they look at me like I just told them to climb Mount Everest barefoot. The brutal reality is this: becoming wealthy is mathematically simple. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference consistently, and compound your returns over time. That's it. Albert Einstein called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world, and he was right. Yet 99% of people will never do this consistently enough to build real wealth. Why? Because simple doesn't mean easy. I remember when my friend Marcus, who now owns a chain of successful restaurants across Texas and Mexico, came to me broke in 2018. He was making $65,000 a year, but living paycheck to paycheck. Sound familiar? He wanted to know why his neighbor, who made the same salary, had just bought his second rental property while Marcus couldn't even save $500. The difference? His neighbor understood the 50-30-20 rule religiously: 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and investments. Marcus was doing the opposite, spending 80% on wants and wondering where his money went. It took me 3 months to convince him to track every single expense. You know what we discovered? He was spending $400 a month on food delivery alone. That's $4,800 a year, enough to max out an IRA contribution. Here's where it gets interesting. In France, where I lived for 2 years studying European investment strategies, I met Pierre, a janitor who retired as a millionaire. Not because he won the lottery, but because he consistently invested 25% of his modest income in index funds for 35 years. Meanwhile, his doctor neighbor, who earned 10 times more, retired with barely $100,000 because he upgraded his lifestyle every time his income increased. This is what I call the lifestyle inflation trap. In Canada, where I consulted for tech companies in Toronto, I saw software engineers making $120,000 a year living paycheck to paycheck because they thought making more money meant they could spend more money. They were wrong. Making more money means you can save more money. But here's the real kicker. And this is where I need you to really pay attention, because your financial future depends on understanding this. The wealthy don't just save money, they make their money multiply. While the average person keeps their savings in accounts earning 0.5% interest, wealthy individuals understand asset allocation. They know that historically, the S&P 500 has returned an average of 10% annually over long periods. They understand real estate appreciation, dividend growth investing, and the tax advantages of retirement accounts. I once had dinner with Sarah Chen, who built a $50 million real estate empire starting with a single duplex she bought with a 3.5% down payment FHA loan. She told me something profound. "Franklin, poor people see expenses, rich people see investments." That duplex cash flowed $200 a month after all expenses. Instead of spending that money, she saved it for the next down payment. 18 months later, she bought property number 2, then 3, then 4. Now, I know what you're thinking. "But Franklin, I don't have money to invest." Wrong. You have money. You're just choosing to spend it on things that make you poorer instead of richer. That daily $6 coffee? That's $2,190 a year. Invested in an index fund returning 8% annually, that becomes $24,000 in 10 years. Your $150 monthly cable bill? That's $20,000 in 10 years if invested wisely. Before I continue with the most crucial part of this wealth-building strategy, I want to ask you something. If this content is adding real value to your financial journey, please consider subscribing to this channel. It takes my team and me countless hours to research, prepare, and create content that can genuinely change lives forever. Your subscription encourages us to keep delivering these powerful insights that separate the wealthy from the wishful thinkers. Hit that subscribe button if you're serious about joining the 1%. Now, here's the part that separates the dreamers from the doers. The 1% who succeed have 3 characteristics that the 99% lack. First, they have delayed gratification mastery. In Mexico, where I consulted for family businesses, I met Eduardo, whose grandfather built a multi-million-dollar manufacturing empire. His grandfather's secret? He lived in the same modest house for 40 years while reinvesting every peso back into the business. Today, Eduardo's family owns factories across 3 countries. Second, they understand leverage. Not just financial leverage, but leverage of time, systems, and other people's money. Warren Buffett didn't become wealthy by saving his salary. He became wealthy by using other people's money to buy cash-flowing businesses. When you get a mortgage to buy rental property, you're using the bank's money to build your wealth. Third, they think in decades, not months. The average person wants to get rich quick. The wealthy person plans to get rich slow and steady. My client David started investing $500 monthly in his Roth IRA at age 25. By age 65, assuming an 8% return, he'll have $1.7 million, tax-free. His friend Mike, who waited until 35 to start, will have only $700,000 with the same monthly contribution. But here's the uncomfortable truth that most financial gurus won't tell you. Becoming wealthy requires sacrifice that most people aren't willing to make. While your friends are leasing BMWs, you're driving a reliable Honda and investing the difference. While they're taking expensive vacations, you're studying financial statements and building your investment portfolio. I learned this lesson the hard way when I started my first business at 28. I lived in a studio apartment for 3 years, eating ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches while reinvesting every dollar back into the company. My friends thought I was crazy. 10 years later, that sacrifice allowed me to buy my dream home with cash. The technology sector has created more millionaires in the past decade than any other industry. But not just for the founders. Early employees at companies like Tesla, Amazon, and Google became wealthy because they understood equity compensation and held on to their stock through market volatility. They thought like owners, not employees. So why do only 1% succeed? Because 99% of people treat symptoms instead of the disease. They want more money without changing their money habits. They want investment returns without investment knowledge. They want wealth without delayed gratification. The path to wealth isn't complicated, but it requires discipline that feels impossible in our instant gratification society. Every dollar you spend on things that depreciate is a dollar that can't compound and grow. Every day you delay starting is a day of lost compound interest you can never recover. I want to leave you with this question. Are you going to be part of the 99% who make excuses, or the 1% who make millions? The choice is yours. But remember, wealth isn't built by accident. It's built by design, one disciplined decision at a time. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And more importantly, what's your biggest obstacle to building wealth? I respond to subscribers first, so make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Let's build wealth together.